Happy New Year. It is now 2018. My name is Miguel. For those who don't know me, I'm a veteran, disabled veteran that works for the VA Medical Center. And this is the time that at some point you have to say enough is enough. What you see on my wall behind me up here is basically the wallpaper we call at our job, which is basically things that we've been going through for the past year. One of them up here, of course, something that most of y'all know about Eric Snowden when he brought to our attention the whistleblowing. And for us that are federal employees, which we know a whistleblower discloses information he or she resembles, believes, evidence violation of any laws, rules, or regulation, which is something we go through on a regular basis. Gross mismanagement. I can only talk about my department, which is EMS, and I'm going to bring more proof to this. And one of my favorites is abuse of authorities. And the most important part of this one is prohibited personal practice. Deceive or willingly obstruct any person from competing for employment. You're going to see that later on as well. Give an unauthorized preference or advantage to improve or injure the prospect of a particular person for employment. Engage in nepotism, which we all know for some of us is favoritism. Take or threatens to take personal action because of whistleblowing. That's what I've been going through ever since 2005, and you'll hear more about that later. Knowingly take or fail to take personal action in the violation of veteran preference laws, which, if a lot of us actually take the time to start reading when we apply for some of these jobs, like in usajobs.gov, and actually start reading some of the paperwork as far as when you put in for a job where it states veteran preference. Like, for example, like I said, I'm a disabled veteran, and in our department in housekeeping, where one of the perfect example when it says, which they try not to give credit to the people that are working at my job, OR, but where it says who may apply, it says current permanent employee of Department of Veterans Affairs, position restricted to preference veterans eligible. Okay, but then they changed that from time to time. Last year, what was it, December 21st, the VA secretary, he sent out a memo of the 2017 VA accomplishments of apparently what we did good. Apparently he doesn't know about the bad part, because most of the time in his videos when he's bringing out the good, I think something I read something to the point to where he didn't really want to hear about the bad. But see, those are things that's going on that makes or break a hospital, the morale. Perfect example is employee to employee violence, which is a memorandum that we had back in December 2012 that came out. Then it was revised to something called Civility in the Workplace. Now this is 2018, and the VA secretary, he wants to talk about the good and everything in 2017 throughout the year. Well, I'm going to rewind back the clock a few months prior to 2017 in 2016. This civility form, first let me state, I am not a union member, nor am I a union steward. But unfortunately, some things in the past when I was in the military had me start reading the UCMJ. And when I started reading the military Code of Justice book, When I got to the VA, I started reading the master agreement. Once you start reading the master agreement, what you'll find out is one of the reasons why I quit the union, because the union don't back the employees, which I don't have to be a member of, but it doesn't protect its union members. And if you go to my YouTube with um, Dr. VA Secretary, please help Atlanta VA Medical Center, you'll be surprised. Well, not some of you. Some of you be surprised, but a lot of you won't. And this is not for everybody. Because one thing you're going to find out is, you're going to hear some people say, well, you have a choice and you should have did this, you should have did that. But yet at the same time, we have rules and regulations that everyone's supposed to follow. So back to the civility in the workplace. Back in 2016, I was passing these out as though if it was something that was someone was giving away free iPhones or Galaxy phones or anything that's the hot topic. And I was passing them out because a lot of people were coming to me because they was having issues with their supervisors, with their lead, their foremen, the assistant chief, and the chief of EMS. And it was becoming so much out of control to where my foreman had a meeting with the second and the third shift to where I actually brought this form to read for a reason. And ironically, one of one of the people from second shift was having a situation with one of the nursing staff, and it was a great segue for me to read civility in the workplace. As I read it, and after I read it, you had people coming to me after I was done, was asking for a copy of this. Now, I was already giving some to the first shift, second, and third, but these are people who did not know about this memorandum. After the meeting, my supervisor at the time, not my present supervisor, but at the time, before 2016 end, he came to me and he thanked me for reading it. It was ironic that he thanked me for reading it, and then after the meeting, he himself engaged in employee on employee violence in the workplace. And he confronted a coworker because he was not at the meeting in a hostile way to where they had to be broken up by the day shift supervisor because it was getting out of control. Now, ironically, do you think it was anything done or anybody knows about it? It was something done. It was retaliation against the person who my supervisor got into it with. And if you once again watch my YouTube of with the secretary that I'm asking to help the VA Medical Center, ironically, he's the one I'm speaking about at the end. And it's going to also show you where you don't need a Freedom of Information Act to find out anything in my department. Now, most of y'all may be doing a good job. I mean, your supervisors and chief and leads, hey, they may be angels and giving you everything that you deserve. But the reason why morale is so low in MS is because you can really see that they're bullies. They're very transparent. We work in a hostile work environment to the point to where morale is very low. And before you state whatever you're thinking about, well, why don't you try to apply to get out? Well, not only have people been trying to apply to get out, there's also people who's been trying to transfer. And in the master agreement, it states that as a senior person, you have the right to transfer when they bring in new employees. Once again, in that video, you're going to hear about a situation. Oh my God, that video must cover a lot, which means there's a lot of dirty stuff going in EMS. The only thing I want is number one, I'm hoping that the Secretary of the VA, after, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about there are some physicians would revoke license. I think that's between that and what's going on in my department. Like I said, the rest of the departments, I think y'all doing good because when y'all have your meetings with your monthly meetings with the director, which we not privileged to because she doesn't come around to see us, and the person she does send to us doesn't really listen to us. You know, it's like you send someone just to say we were there, but not as someone to say, okay, this department has issues and we need to take a look at it. Because what you're going to hear from this point on is a reason VA Secretary, Mr. Shulkins, we need a congressional investigation. You know, there's certain words people just can't say. Congressional, damn it, congressional, there we go, investigation at the Atlanta VA Medical Center. You can start with our department, EMS, because from what you hear at the end is not even the beginning of what goes on in our department. There's a lot more than you can imagine, where in the last few months, there's always movies about what we went through when we was active duty. Now we're veterans. Some of us who've dealt with PTSD, MST, and other things, mental, emotional, drugs, and alcohol. Now that we are in the system and still working for the federal government, what we did then has not transpired over to now for us, for what we do, as far as we get the benefits. Now, don't get me wrong. Me, myself, as a disabled veteran, I'm not asking to be handed anything. I want to be based on my own merits. And there's enough stuff in my records. Oh, I'm sorry. They don't really put anything in your records. But I do have copies of stuff. For example, I think there's a training that I went to, which for some odd reason, master training and master trainer for treating veterans with care, which means I'm a trainer to train you how to teach the class. But they since then eliminated treating veterans with care, and now they have a new program which is called I Care. And if you ask me, not everybody really cares, because if they did, in 2016, when I was passing out the civility form to my coworkers, and I brought it to the attention of the foreman who was in attendance of that meeting and the rest of my coworkers, there's no way in 2017 we should have been bullied first of the year. Now tell me, maybe it's just me. If you work for the federal government or you work any job to where you have a sign-up list where it says, do you want to work the holiday or not? You're given that opportunity to work, to sign up to work that holiday. As the time goes by, the following week, you find out that they mark you AWOL because the supervisor made a mistake. So what they tell you you have to do, you have to put in leave, annual leave, sick leave, or work a couple hours, or it goes AWOL. Now, first of all, marking me AWOL is illegal for something that's your fault. But then after that, you can tell this is where the bullying comes in. According to them, we don't have any choice. But according to the book, when you write us AWOL, you're supposed to give us advance notice. And that is not our fault because you gave me a choice. As time goes on, this is 2018, it's time to break the cycle of bullying in EMS. My department. Now, like I say, the rest of the hospital, hey, I think y'all doing good. Well, you can't be doing too good because I have people from other departments who I've handed out the civility form to, the employee violence in the workplace. For example, there was someone was just telling me right before the year was ending that a coworker came up to him while they were sitting down. Well, we call it bum rush, and was putting a finger all in their face. They brought this to the attention of who they needed to. The same individual was having a problem with their supervisor, with their supervisors coming up. Wait a minute, hold on, back up now. But ironically, the supervisor don't understand why me and you can't do a one-on-one no more because I don't trust you. And I have a right to ask for a witness to be present each and every time, especially when this is put in writing. Everyone asks the same question. Who do we tell? Who do we talk to? Once again, you'll see in that video. I started off with the few months before January 17th. After January 17th, you're going to hear I wrote an email to the director. I spoke with the, at the time, acting director, Miss Regina Carden. Congratulations, she's finally got on board. I spoke with EEO, which was more concerned about making it to the new African American Museum. You're going to hear more about that as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to break the cycle from this point on. All I'm asking for everyone to start doing is start reading your union regulations, your master agreement yourself, so you pretty much have an idea of what's going on. I would advise you to see if you can get a PDA copy of the master agreement. That way you don't have to make copies out the book. With the PDA form, which I do have, with the PDA, you can actually go by and you can put in the page number that you need instead of trying to print it out the book, which is a lot better. So with that being said, let's make 2018 the year for the employees, and let's take back what we deserve. Hopefully, we can get a congressional, a word's going to come to me sooner or later, congressional investigation at some point before things get out of hand, like they already did after I read the civility form. With in our department, we had 2 fights that should never happen. And me personally, I have an idea why they shouldn't have happened. But let's hope the investigation shows the nepotism, aka favoritism, and also how other people have been what's the word I'm looking for? It's not really workplace bullying, but actually what it is, it's you're holding people back for no other reason. They're within their rights. If they ask to transfer, and if everything is correct, they should be able to transfer. And the sad part about it is, if I can talk about all the stuff and prove the transparency, they're hiring people who don't belong, or they're changing the language in the application You can see it as clear as night and day. If you start going back and reading your USA jobs application for your department, like my department, I can break down how the language has changed from job to job. I can show where they have favoritism, and also I can show of how they violated the veteran preference laws. With that being said, let's make this team Atlanta this year, starting 2018. So all I want to say, just because I'm not a member of the union, I need for you to use your judgment. For example, if you have a mediation and you notice that your mediation is not going the way it's supposed to, terminate it because you have that right. If you notice that your union rep who's sitting there, just sitting there and listening, that's not what you pay your dues for. Your union rep should have a say and not be intimidated by your supervisor, your chief, your assistant chief, or anyone else they're sitting in a room with. I've been asked on many occasions, but that's not my job. I want you to be able to know what you're going in that room and have your rights restored. That's the reason why I'm blackballed today, is because back when I first started this, it's not my first time, not my second time being in mediation. And all my mediations were successful, even the bad one, to the point to where I realized there's things that we have to take a look at. So 2018, what I would like, I would love for IBM to allow me to borrow Watson and to put this information into the system to let us know exactly. Because I enjoy those commercials. I'm not trying to sponsor or advertise for them, but I just think the commercial that Watson can figure some stuff out, because the people that are working for us are not trying to figure it out, or they're part of the problem instead of the solution. And that's what we need. We need someone today who's part of the solution and not the problem, because we already have enough of them. I think I rambled on enough, and I hope at some point we can take back the part of the VA Medical Center to where it can be fair, and hopefully we can get the right people in to take care of what problems that we're dealing with on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. So with that being said, Happy New Year to all my friends and family, and Happy New Year to all my fellow veterans. Yes, I am a Gulf War veteran. I'm repping my shirt. Foreign or domestic. That's what I signed up for. But once I got out the military, it didn't end there. Now we're on domestic land, and we're dealing with domestic problems inside the federal government, which we shouldn't be going through. Mr. Secretary, please, VA Secretary, Mr. Shulkins, help EMS, Atlanta VA Medical Center, get us back on the right track. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a blessed new year.